We threw a Christmas party to help our friend heal after her abusive husband was sentenced to 5 years in prison. She was laughing for the first time in years until she looked out the window and whispered 3 words that froze us all. He's outside. 2008 had already been a heavy year. The financial crisis had people scared, futures uncertain, and even football heartbreak felt symbolic of how everything was going wrong. But none of that came close to what truly mattered. Finally told me the truth. Her husband of 3 years, Nick, had been abusing her. For months we had sensed something was wrong. The cheerful, lively woman we once knew had slowly faded away. She was always busy, always exhausted, and emotionally distant. It felt as though something was draining. Nick never hit her hard enough to leave obvious bruises. But he hit her, he intimidated her, choked her, controlled her movements, and once locked her in their attic for an entire day after an argument about his drinking. Worse than the violence were the words. He told her she deserved it, that it was for her own good, that if she ever told anyone, he would kill her no matter the consequences. He made it clear he feared nothing, not even prison. What shocked me most was how different Nick had once been. When I first met him, he seemed gentle, polite, and loving. Jane later told me the change started after his father died. She suspected his father had abused his own wife, and that Nick had grown up witnessing it. After a deep depression, Nick emerged as someone else entirely by late spring. Jane had finally spoken up. Months of fear followed as she quietly gathered evidence, speaking with lawyers and police while praying for safety in September. She managed to secretly record his abuse. When police saw the footage, Nick was arrested immediately. His trial was set for November, and though Jane feared a light sentence, justice finally arrived. Nick received 5 years in prison. For a moment, it felt like freedom had finally come. Jane was safe, but healing didn't come easily. The relief of Nick's imprisonment was quickly replaced by grief. For the years she felt she had lost. We could all see it in her eyes. She needed light, laughter, and reminders that life still held joy. So at the end of November, I suggested something simple, but meaningful: a Christmas party just for her. Everyone agreed instantly. We chose Saturday the 13th from the 1st of December. My house became a festive workshop. Decorations covered every surface. Food filled the kitchen. Wine bottles lined the counters, and a carefully crafted playlist promised joy. There was only one rule: no mention of Nick. Not his name, not the trial, not the prison. This night was meant to give Jane peace, even if only for a few hours. When the night arrived, guests came bearing smiles and warmth. Jane walked in to cheers, hugs, and genuine happiness. At first, the evening was calm, glasses of wine clinking softly as Christmas classics played. Stronger drinks appeared, the energy lifted. So Mariah Carey replaced Bing Crosby. Laughter filled every room, and people danced like they had no worries at all. Jane laughed too, truly laughed. Not the forced smiles she'd worn for years, but real joy. It felt like victory. Eventually, she raised a toast. Instead of quiet gratitude, she surprised us by dedicating it to the man behind bars. We drank to survival. Music grew louder, spirits higher. And for the first time in years, Jane seemed free. None of us knew that the night of healing was about to turn into her worst nightmare reborn. At some point during the chaos and laughter, Jane went upstairs to the bathroom. Minutes passed. Then more. We assumed she was drunk, maybe sick. No one worried until she burst back into the room, pale and shaking. Her voice cracked as she shouted that she needed to leave. Then came the words that froze us all. "He's outside, he's right there." At first, we didn't understand. When she said Nick's name, our reaction wasn't fear, but confusion. Nick was in prison. There was no possible way. We tried to calm her. Attack fueled by alcohol and trauma, Jane insisted, pulling one of us toward the hallway window. She pointed at the street lamp beyond the driveway. There was no one there. We truly believed she was hallucinating. PTSD made sense. Fear does terrible things to the mind. As her panic grew, One of our friends went outside to reassure her. Jane begged her not to go, terrified he would attack. The door opened anyway, and there he was. Nick stood outside, real and unmistakable, the door barely. Had time to close before he forced his foot inside and shoved his way through. Screams echoed through the house. He demanded to know where Jane was, his voice filled with rage. Jane's terror became wordless screams. We couldn't comprehend it. Nick was supposed to be serving 5 years. Escape was the only explanation that made sense. The house felt suddenly small, fragile and unsafe as Nick pushed toward the stairs. Fury and fear collided, an instinct took over. Someone had to stop him, and someone did. Holding a cricket bat, still wearing a full face of makeup from earlier jokes, he stood his ground, shouting challenges at Nick, buying time for Jane. Nick charged. Ryan swung. The sound of wood hitting skull was unforgettable. Nick stumbled backward, but he wasn't finished. People screamed, objects flew. A ceramic burner shattered against the wall. Nick saw Jane run into the bathroom, and that sight fueled him further. He blocked the next swing with his arm, somehow still advancing when Ryan swung again. The bat connected with Nick's head for a second time, sending him tumbling down the stairs. For a moment, it looked like he was unconscious. Then he stood up, bleeding, swaying, still dangerous. Someone shouted that the police were on their way. That changed everything. Nick suddenly wanted to leave. He fought his way back through the crowd, clawed and scratched as he escaped into the night. Lights, questions, and statements followed. Jane remained locked in the bathroom until a police officer gently told her it was safe. The party was over. The house was silent. Shock lingered in every corner. The question haunted us all: how had Nick been free? The answer came days later, and was almost impossible to believe. A clerical error had marked him for unsupervised release. No one questioned it. No one noticed he walked free. Found our party through social media and came straight for Jane. He was arrested after a brief manhunt and returned to prison. This time there would be no mistake. Nick eventually served 3 years before being released on license. Strict conditions ensured he could never contact Jane. Jane lived in fear for a long time, but slowly. Life stabilized. The prison service paid a settlement, though money could never undo what happened. What amazed me most was Jane's strength. She chose to forgive the system that failed her, something I'm not sure I could ever do. She moved forward, rebuilt her life, and reclaimed pieces of herself that Nick tried to destroy. That Christmas party was meant to heal instead. It revealed how fragile safety can be, but also showed something powerful. Courage, chaos, and community pushed it back. Jane survived, and sometimes survival itself is the greatest victory.